Good morning. How are you today? I hope you're well. This is an adult and teen coloring therapy channel not intended for kids under the age of 13. Thank you. But since this is devotions, everybody's welcome. You have to give me a few minutes because you know how I have good days when my throat and bad days. Well, I believe this is going to turn into a bad day. Excuse me. I was on this one medication that caused me to have dry mouth and major heartburn. I talked to my doctor about it. She got me on this one I'm taking and heartburn medication. And I know from my friend, he used to have it growing up. His mother used to try to find something to soothe it. Until the doctor says, you know they have medication for that. I'm like, really? Hey, well. Hello there, Telma. How are you? Really? Very nice. Oh, I definitely will. Let me, I'm good. How are you? Yeah. Hold on. Whoops. Oh my gosh. I'm trying to type it in. Hold on. It keeps disappearing. Hold on, guys. Where is it? Oh, okay. Is this you? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, damn, no. Is that you? My name. Okay. I got you, babe. Okay. We'll get started with these devotions. Who the heck pressed the dislike button? I didn't get started yet. Oh, I lost supporters. It goes up and down. No, I don't mind them. Even I said it to someone who will dislike a devotional live before we get started. Sometimes I can be talking for like 15 minutes and then we'll get started. So, how's the kids coping with this lockdown? Are they driving you crazy yet? I remember one devotional we did. I did. We were talking and having fun. It was like 2 hours in, and someone says, "Are you gonna do the devotion or what?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is devotion." Oh boy. So do you get an online um s- uh class for your kids, or you have to like go through the paperwork? Because here you have the schools act some schools in Rhode Island supply the kids with laptops. Oh, that's it. Well, tell them if they keep doing the paperwork, they'll get done quicker. I mean, I think I'll do all 1 week in 1 day. That's that's what I would do. I did a week's worth of makeup work in 1 day and brought it back the next day for my teachers. They go, "What?" So I'm not gonna have this for days and weeks. Yeah, you know what you could do? AM for one child and then PM for another child if they can't work together at the same table. You're welcome. Yeah, so if they can't work at the same table they can't concentrate, then have one get up early, and so before lunch, one does it, and then she'll get done, so you can concentrate on her. Then maybe if after lunch is the other one. If the other one don't have that much to do, that's what I would do. We're doing good, you know. The statistics are still going up. We're at a plateau, not a flat one, but it's slowing down a lot in Rhode Island. Me in New York was hit hard with it. Like, like my dad says that's such a busy town. He said he wouldn't be surprised if everybody in New York will be affected by this. I went, Dad, he looks at me. Everybody in the world's affected by this in a way. But I knew what he meant. Oh, oh, I know what I could have ordered. You know what you tell them? Says, well, find a cure for the COVID-19, and I promise I'll have my kids to be quiet. That's what I would say. What is the kids gonna do? This one YouTube channel, Jess Fam, JESSSFAM. The next door neighbor called the cops on the kids because they were playing in the yard. I'm like, come on. They're building a house, so they're almost out of there. Hopefully sooner than later. I can imagine what it's like in Riverbend Apartments, where I used to live. They probably have strict rules. But but at this time in Rhode Island, you cannot be evicted during the during all this happening. Oh, really? Well, that sucks. Yeah, someone asked me, what the heck is a flat? Someone said they live in a flat. I'm like, it's an apartment. Oh, yeah, I have a pretty good garden in the back and the front and the sides. Yeah, I had to tell them it's an apartment. I go, oh. Let's get started. No, this is devotion. Yeah, I say my prayer. I read from Jesus Calling. hmm And then we listen to the little guy that lives in here read us the Bible. It's okay. I'm Christian. I was born Catholic, but I'm born again Christian. It's all good. This one woman came and then goes, "Oh, I'm Hindu. I can't stay." I went, "It's okay. Come back in a couple hours for my coloring." But she never came back. No. Where was she? I can't remember. Okay. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us for our trespasses. Forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Lord, for another beautiful day on this earth and allowing us to wake up today. Please give my friend Robin and her family good vibes so they'll start having good news instead of heartbreaking news. And please stop the spread of the COVID-19. You've done wonderful in stopping it so far. I can't wait until you allow it to stop. In the name of Jesus, amen. Because it's up to him when it stops. It's a matter of control of the population of the earth. Around here in Rhode Island, most of the deaths are coming from nursing homes. So today is May 3rd. Oh, this one person said, you didn't send me a notification, so I send it. Yeah, I did. No, you didn't. And then he goes, looks. He goes, oh, yeah, you did. So Jesus calling for May 3rd. You cannot serve two masters. If I'm truly a master, you will desire to please me above all others. If pleasing people is your goal, you will be enslaved to them. People can be harsh taskmakers when you give them the power over you. If I am the master of your life, I will also be your first love. Mhm. Your serving me is rooting and grounded in my vast, unconditional love for you. The lower you bow down before me, the higher I lift you up into intimate relationship with me. The joy of living in my presence outshines all other pleasures. I want you to reflect my joyful light by living in increasing intimacy with me. Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. Revelations chapter 2, verse 4. Ephesians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. Psalms chapter 16, verse 11. I'm about to put those into the chat. Here you go. There's the passages. Now, Talma, I read from a New Living Translation Bible. What Bible do you read from, just in case you're following along? Because I can try to read from the same Bible you're following in, if you're gonna follow in, or do you want me just to read? Okay, I'm just gonna read. So I'm gonna go to Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. 6, verse 24. No one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and be enslaved to money. That's true. Next is Revelation. It's the last book. Chapter 2, verse 4. But I have this complaint against you. You don't love me or each other as you did at first. Ooh. And then Ephesians chapter 3, verse 16 and 17. I pray that from his glorious, unlimited resources, he will empower you with his. With, let's start over. I pray that from his glorious, unlimited resources, he will empower you with inner strength through his spirit. Then Christ will make his home in your heart as you trust in him. Your roots will grow down into God's love and keep you strong. Yep. Last but certainly not least is Psalms chapter 16, verse 11. Hmm. You will show me the way of life, granting me the joy of your presence and the pleasures of living with you forever. Yes. Now I believe, I can't remember which one we're on. I think we're starting on Second Samuel. Oh no, we already did Second Samuel. Did what? Oh no. Yeah, we're on Second Samuel chapter 9 through 16. That's what we're doing. I have to write something down before I forget if I haven't done it yet. There we go. I keep track because I'm reading a Bible. Reading the whole Bible. And here it is, Second Samuel, chapter 9.
Chapter 9. David's kindness to Mephibosheth. One day David asked, "Is anyone in Saul's family still alive? Anyone to whom I can show kindness for Jonathan's sake?" He summoned a man named Ziba, who had been one of Saul's servants. "Are you Ziba?" the king asked. "Yes, sir, I am," Ziba replied. The king then asked him, "Is anyone still alive from Saul's family? If so, I want to show God's kindness to them." Ziba replied, "Yes, one of Jonathan's sons is still alive. He is crippled in both feet." "Where is he?" the king asked. "In Lodabar," Ziba told him, "at the home of Machir, son of Ammiel." So David sent for him and brought him from Machir's home. His name was Mephibosheth. He was Jonathan's son and Saul's grandson. When he came to David, he bowed low to the ground in deep respect. David said, "Greetings, Mephibosheth." Mephibosheth replied, "I am your servant." "Don't be afraid," David said. "I intend to show kindness to you because of my promise to your father Jonathan. I will give you all the property that once belonged to your grandfather Saul, and you will eat here with me at the king's table." Mephibosheth bowed respectfully and exclaimed, "Who is your servant that you should show such kindness to a dead dog like me?" Then the king summoned Saul's servant Ziba and said, "I have given your master's grandson everything that belonged to Saul and his family. You and your sons and servants are to farm the land for him to produce food for your master's household. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, will eat here at my table." Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Ziba replied, "Yes, my lord the king, I am your servant, and I will do all that you have commanded." And from that time on, Mephibosheth ate regularly at David's table, like one of the king's own sons. Mephibosheth had a young son named Micah. From then on, all the members of Ziba's household were Mephibosheth's servants. And Mephibosheth, who was crippled in both feet, lived in Jerusalem and ate regularly at the king's table. Chapter 10. David defeats the Ammonites. Sometime after this, King Nahash of the Ammonites died, and his son Hanun became king. David said, "I am going to show loyalty to Hanun just as his father Nahash was always loyal to me." So David sent ambassadors to express sympathy to Hanun about his father's death. But when David's ambassadors arrived in the land of Ammon, the Ammonite commanders said to Hanun, their master, "Do you really think these men are coming here to honor your father? No, David has sent them to spy out the city so they can come in and conquer it." So Hanun seized David's ambassadors and shaved off half of each man's beard, cut off their robes at the buttocks, and sent them back to David in shame. When David heard what had happened, he sent messengers to tell the men, "Stay at Jericho until your beards grow out, and then come back," for they felt deep shame because of their appearance. When the people of Ammon realized how seriously they had angered David, they sent and hired 20,000 Aramean foot soldiers from the lands of Beth-rehob and Zobah, 1,000 from the king of Maacah, and 12,000 from the land of Tob. When David heard about this, he sent Joab and all his warriors to fight them. The Ammonite troops came out and drew up their battle lines at the entrance of the city gate, while the Arameans from Zobah and Rehob and the men from Tob and Maacah positioned themselves to fight in the open fields. When Joab saw that he would have to fight on both the front and the rear, he chose some of Israel's elite troops and placed them under his personal command to fight the Arameans in the fields. He left the rest of the army under the command of his brother Abishai, who was to attack the Ammonites. "If the Arameans are too strong for me, then come over and help me," Joab told his brother. "And if the Ammonites are too strong for you, I will come and help you. Be courageous. Let us fight bravely for our people and the cities of our God. May the Lord's will be done." When Joab and his troops attacked, the Arameans began to run away. And when the Ammonites saw the Arameans running, they ran from Abishai and retreated into the city. After the battle was over, Joab returned to Jerusalem. The Arameans now realized that they were no match for Israel. So when they regrouped, they were joined by additional Aramean troops summoned by Hadadezer from the other side of the Euphrates River. These troops arrived at Helam under the command of Shobak, the commander of Hadadezer's forces. When David heard what was happening, he mobilized all Israel, crossed the Jordan.
You know, this app has been around, I don't know how, since 1996. I guess you can download it on your computer or something back then. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
River and led the army to Helam. The Arameans positioned themselves in battle formation and fought against David. But again, the Arameans fled from the Israelites. This time, David's forces killed 700 charioteers and 40,000 foot soldiers, including Shobak, the commander of their army. When all the kings allied with Hadadezer saw that they had been defeated by Israel, they surrendered to Israel and became their subjects. After that, the Arameans were afraid to help the Ammonites.
I understand that.
Chapter 11. David and Bathsheba. In the spring of the year, when kings normally go out to war, David sent Joab and the Israelite army to fight the Ammonites. They destroyed the Ammonite army and laid siege to the city of Rabbah. However, David stayed behind in Jerusalem. Late one afternoon, after his midday rest, David got out of bed and was walking on the roof of the palace. As he looked out over the city, he noticed a woman of unusual beauty taking a bath. He sent someone to find out who she was, and he was told, "She is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, and the wife of Uriah the Hittite." Then David sent messengers to get her, and when she came to the palace, he slept with her. She had just completed the purification rites after having her menstrual period. Then she returned home. Later, when Bathsheba discovered that she was pregnant, she sent David a message saying, "I'm pregnant." Then David sent word to Joab, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." So Joab sent him to David. When Uriah arrived, David asked him how Joab and the army were getting along and how the war was progressing. Then he told Uriah, "Go on home and relax." David even sent a gift to Uriah after he had left the palace. But Uriah didn't go home. He slept that night at the palace entrance with the king's palace guard. When David heard that Uriah had not gone home, he summoned him and asked, "What's the matter? Why didn't you go home last night after being away for so long?" Uriah replied, "The ark and the armies of Israel and Judah are living in tents, and Joab and my master's men are camping in the open fields. How could I go home to wine and dine and sleep with my wife? I swear that I would never do such a thing." "Well, stay here today," David told him, "and tomorrow you may return to the army." So Uriah stayed in Jerusalem that day and the next. Then David invited him to dinner and got him drunk. But even then he couldn't get Uriah to go home to his wife. Again, he slept at the palace entrance with the king's palace guard. David arranges for Uriah's death. So the next morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and gave it to Uriah to deliver. The letter instructed Joab, "Station Uriah on the front lines where the battle is fiercest, then pull back so that he will be killed." So Joab assigned Uriah to a spot close to the city wall, where he knew the enemy's strongest men were fighting. And when the enemy soldiers came out of the city to fight, Uriah the Hittite was killed along with several other Israelite soldiers. Then Joab sent a battle report to David. He told his messenger, "Report all the news of the battle to the king." But he might get angry and ask, "Why did the troops go so close to the city? Didn't they know there would be shooting from the walls? Wasn't Abimelech, son of Gideon, killed at Thebes by a woman who threw a millstone down on him from the wall?"
Yeah, it stopped. So what we do is we press pause and let it rest. And then we press play and wait. And abracadabra, make it work. Please?
"Why would you get so close to the wall?" Then tell him Uriah the Hittite was killed too. So the messenger went to Jerusalem and gave a complete report to David. "The enemy came out against us in the open fields," he said, "and as we chased them back to the city gate, the archers on the wall shot arrows at us. Some of the king's men were killed, including Uriah the Hittite." "Well, tell Joab not to be discouraged," David said. "The sword devours this one today and that one tomorrow. Fight harder next time and conquer the city." When Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. When the period of mourning was over, David sent for her and brought her to the palace, and she became one of his wives. Then she gave birth to a son. But the Lord was displeased with what David had done.
Uh-oh.
Chapter 12. Nathan rebukes David. So the Lord sent Nathan the prophet to tell David this story. There were two men in a certain town. One was rich and one was poor. The rich man owned a great many sheep and cattle. The poor man owned nothing but one little lamb he had bought. He raised that little lamb, and it grew up with his children. It ate from the man's own plate and drank from his cup. He cuddled it in his arms like a baby daughter.
Aww.
One day a guest arrived at the home of the rich man. But instead of killing an animal from his own flock or herd, he took the poor man's lamb and killed it and prepared it for his guest. David was furious. "As surely as the Lord lives," he vowed, "any man who would do such a thing deserves to die. He must repay 4 lambs to the poor man for the one he stole and for having no pity." Then Nathan said to David, "You are that man. The Lord, the God of Israel, says, I anointed you king of Israel and saved you from the power of Saul. I gave you your master's house and his wives, and the kingdoms of Israel and Judah. And if that had not been enough, I would have given you much, much more. Why then have you despised the word of the Lord and done this horrible deed? For you have murdered Uriah the Hittite with the sword of the Ammonites and stolen his wife. From this time on, your family will live by the sword because you have despised me by taking Uriah's wife to be your own. This is what the Lord says. Because of what you have done, I will cause your own household to rebel against you. I will give your wives to another man before your very eyes, and he will go to bed with them in public view. You did it secretly, but I will make this happen to you openly in the sight of all Israel. David confesses his guilt. Then David confessed to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. Nathan replied, Yes, but the Lord has forgiven you, and you won't die for this sin. Nevertheless, because you have shown utter contempt for the Lord by doing this, your child will die. After Nathan returned to his home,
I'm going to sharpen a pencil.
the child of David, Uriah's wife. David begged God to spare the child. He went without food and lay all night on the bare ground. The elders of his household pleaded with him to get up and eat with them, but he refused. Then, on the seventh day, the child died. David's advisors were afraid to tell him. He wouldn't listen to reason while the child was ill. They said, What drastic thing will he do when we tell him the child is dead? When David saw them whispering, he realized what had happened. Is the child dead? He asked. Yes, they replied, he is dead. Then David got up from the ground, washed himself, put on lotions, and changed his clothes. He went to the tabernacle and worshipped the Lord. After that, he returned to the palace and was served food and ate. His advisors were amazed. We don't understand you, they told him. While the child was still living, you wept and refused to eat, but now that the child is dead, you have stopped your mourning and are eating again. David replied, I fasted and wept while the child was alive. For I said, perhaps the Lord will be gracious to me and let the child live. But why should I fast when he is dead? Can I bring him back again? I will go to him one day, but he cannot return to me. Then David comforted Bathsheba, his wife, and slept with her. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son, and they named him Solomon. The Lord loved the child and sent word through Nathan the prophet that they should name him Jedediah, which means beloved of the Lord, as the Lord had commanded. David captures Rabbah. Meanwhile, Joab was fighting against Rabbah, the capital of Ammon, and he captured the royal fortifications. Joab sent messengers to tell David, I have fought against Rabbah and captured its water supply. Now bring the rest of the army and capture the city. Otherwise, I will capture it and get credit for the victory. So David gathered the rest of the army and went to Rabbah, and he fought against it and captured it. David removed the crown from the king's head, and it was placed on his own head. The crown was made of gold and set with gems, and it weighed 75 pounds. David took a vast amount of plunder from the city. He also made slaves of the people of Rabbah and forced them to labor with saws, iron picks, and iron axes, and to work in the brick kilns. That is how he dealt with the people of all the Ammonite towns. Then David and all the army returned to Jerusalem. Chapter 13. The Rape of Tamar. Now David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister named Tamar, and Amnon, her half-brother, fell desperately in love with her. Amnon became so obsessed with Tamar that he became ill. She was a virgin, and Amnon thought he could never have her. But Amnon had a very crafty friend, his cousin Jonadab. He was the son of David's brother Shimei. One day Jonadab said to Amnon, What's the trouble? Why should the son of a king look so dejected morning after morning? So Amnon told him, I'm in love with Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. Well, Jonadab said, I'll tell you what to do. Go back to bed and pretend you are ill. When your father comes to see you, ask him to let Tamar come and prepare some food for you. Tell him you'll feel better if she prepares it as you watch and feeds you with her own hands. So Amnon lay down and pretended to be sick. And when the king came to see him, Amnon asked him, Please let my sister Tamar come and cook my favorite dish as I watch. Then I can eat it from her own hands. So David agreed and sent Tamar to Amnon's house to prepare some food for him. When Tamar arrived at Amnon's house, she went to the place where he was lying down so he could watch her mix some dough. Then she baked his favorite dish for him. But when she set the serving tray before him, he refused to eat. Everyone, get out of here, Amnon told his servants. So they all left. Then he said to Tamar, Now bring the food into my bedroom and feed it to me here." So Tamar took his favorite dish to him. But as she was feeding him, he grabbed her and demanded, "Come to bed with me, my darling sister." "No, my brother," she cried. "Don't be foolish. Don't do this to me. Such wicked things aren't done in Israel. Where could I go in my shame? And you would be called one of the greatest fools in Israel. Please just speak to the king about it, and he will let you marry me." But Amnon wouldn't listen to her, and since he was stronger than she was, he raped her. Then, suddenly, Amnon's love turned to hate, and he hated her even more than he had loved her. "Get out of here," he snarled at her. "No, no," Tamar cried. "Sending me away now is worse than what you've already done to me." But Amnon wouldn't listen to her. He shouted for his servant and demanded, "Throw this woman out and lock the door behind her." So the servant put her out and locked the door behind her. She was wearing a long, beautiful robe, as was the custom in those days for the king's virgin daughters. But now Tamar tore her robe and put ashes on her head. And then, with her face in her hands, she went away crying. Her brother Absalom saw her and asked, "Is it true that Amnon has been with you?" "Well, my sister, keep quiet for now, since he's your brother. Don't you worry about it." So Tamar lived as a desolate woman in her brother Absalom's house. When King David heard what had happened, he was very angry. And though Absalom never spoke to Amnon about this, he hated Amnon deeply because of what he had done to his sister. Absalom's revenge on Amnon.
That's horrible.
2 years later, when Absalom's sheep were being sheared at Baal Hazor near Ephraim, Absalom invited all the king's sons to come to a feast. He went to the king and said, "My sheep shearers are now at work. Would the king and his servants please come to celebrate the occasion with me?" The king replied, "No, my son, if we all came, we would be too much of a burden on you." Absalom pressed him, but the king would not come, though he gave Absalom his blessing. "Well then," Absalom said, "if you can't come, how about sending my brother Amnon with us?" "Why Amnon?" the king asked. But Absalom kept on pressing the king until he finally agreed to let all his sons attend, including
Excuse
Amnon.
me.
So Absalom prepared a feast fit for a king. Absalom told his men, "Wait until Amnon gets drunk. Then at my signal, kill him. Don't be afraid, I'm the one who has given the command. Take courage and do it." So at Absalom's signal, they murdered Amnon. Then the other sons of the king jumped on their mules and fled. As they were on their way back to Jerusalem, this report reached David. "Absalom has killed all the king's sons. Not one is left alive." The king got up, tore his robe, and threw himself on the ground. His advisors also tore their clothes in horror and sorrow. But just then Jonadab, the son of David's brother Shimei, arrived and said, "No, don't believe that all the king's sons have been killed. It was only Amnon. Absalom has been plotting this ever since Amnon raped his sister Tamar. No, my lord the king, your sons aren't all dead. It was only Amnon." Meanwhile, Absalom escaped. Then the watchman on the Jerusalem wall saw a great crowd coming toward the city from the west. He ran to tell the king, "I see a crowd of people coming from the Horonaim road along the side of the hill." "Look," Jonadab told the king, "there they are now. The king's sons are coming, just as I said." They soon arrived, weeping and sobbing, and the king and all his servants wept bitterly with them. And David mourned many days for his son Amnon. Absalom fled to his grandfather Talmai, son of Ammihud, the king of Geshur. He stayed there in Geshur for 3 years, and King David, now reconciled to Amnon's death, longed to be reunited with his son Absalom.
Wow.
Chapter 14. Joab arranges for Absalom's return. Joab realized how much the king longed to see Absalom, so he sent for a woman from Tekoa who had a reputation for great wisdom. He said to her, "Pretend you are in mourning, wear mourning clothes, and don't put on lotions. Act like a woman who has been mourning for the dead for a long time. Then go to the king and tell him the story I am about to tell you." Then Joab told her what to say. When the woman from Tekoa approached the king, she bowed with her face to the ground in deep respect and cried out, "O king, help me." "What's the trouble?" the king asked. "Alas, I am a widow," she replied. "My husband is dead. My 2 sons had a fight out in the field, and since no one was there to stop it, one of them was killed. Now the rest of the family is demanding, 'Let us have your son. We will execute him for murdering his brother. He doesn't deserve to inherit his family's property.' They want to extinguish the only coal I have left, and my husband's name and family will disappear from the face of the earth. Leave it to me, the king told her. Go home and I'll see to it that no one touches him. Oh, thank you, my lord the king, the woman from Tekoa replied. If you are criticized for helping me, let the blame fall on me and on my father's house, and let the king and his throne be innocent. If anyone objects, the king said, bring him to me. I can assure you he will never come back again. Then she said, please swear to me by the Lord your God that you won't let anyone take vengeance against my son. I want no more bloodshed. As surely as the Lord lives, he replied, not a hair on your son's head will be disturbed. Please allow me to ask one more thing of my lord the king, she said. Go ahead and speak, he responded. She replied, why don't you do as much for the people of God as you have promised to do for me? You have convicted yourself in making this decision because you have refused to bring home your own banished son. All of us must die eventually. Our lives are like water spilled out on the ground, which cannot be gathered up again. But God does not just sweep life away. Instead, he devises ways to bring us back when we have been separated from him. I have come to plead with my lord the king because people have threatened me. I said to myself, perhaps the king will listen to me and rescue us from those who would cut us off from the inheritance God has given us. Yes, my lord the king will give us peace of mind again. I know that you are like an angel of God in discerning good from evil. May the Lord your God be with you. I must know one thing, the king replied, and tell me the truth. Yes, my lord the king, she responded. Did Joab put you up to this? And the woman replied, my lord the king, how can I deny it? Nobody can hide anything from you. Yes, Joab sent me and told me what to say. He did it to place the matter before you in a different light. But you are as wise as an angel of God, and you understand everything that happens among us. So the king sent for Joab and told him, all right, go and bring back the young man Absalom. Joab bowed with his face to the ground in deep respect and said, at last I know that I have gained your approval, my lord the king, for you have granted me this request. Then Joab went to Geshur and brought Absalom back to Jerusalem. But the king gave this order, Absalom may go to his own house, but he must never come into my presence. So Absalom did not see the king. Absalom reconciled to David. Now Absalom was praised as the most handsome man in all Israel. He was flawless from head to foot. He cut his hair only once a year, and then only because it was so heavy. When he weighed it out, it came to 5 pounds. He had 3 sons and 1 daughter. His daughter's name was Tamar, and she was very beautiful. Absalom lived in Jerusalem for 2 years, but he never got to see the king. Then Absalom sent for Joab to ask him to intercede for him. But Joab refused to come. Absalom sent for him a second time, but again Joab refused to come. So Absalom said to his servants, go and set fire to Joab's barley field, the field next to mine. So they set his field on fire, as Absalom had commanded. Then Joab came to Absalom at his house and demanded, why did your servant set my field on fire? And Absalom replied, because I wanted you to ask the king why he brought me back from Geshur if he didn't intend to see me. I might as well have stayed there. Let me see the king. If he finds me guilty of anything, then let him kill me. So Joab told the king what Absalom had said. Then, at last, David summoned Absalom, who came and bowed low before the king, and the king kissed him.
I think I made a mistake. Today's not Monday. Today is... I'm reading... We skipped ahead on number... Well... Well, I started reading on 2 Samuel 9. So what do I do tomorrow? So I'm stopping there. So tomorrow do 1 through 8? Okay. I don't know where I left off on 14. I'm stopping there. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Tomorrow we'll just read straight through 20. Yeah, I'll get up early tomorrow and do it. And we'll read from 1 to now, what we just read. It's fine. Yeah, I need to go to bed early. I'm done for the day. I'm done. So tomorrow I will start early to do this, just the reading, to get caught up. And then after we will do the Jesus calling. Hey, Trix. So I'll be starting right at 7 a.m. Ow! My foot still hurts. I don't know why. I'll start right up at 7 a.m. with the Bible reading. And I'll do the Jesus calling after we get to where we are today. But just remind me, we have to read from 1 to 16. No, my feet are all bloated and everything, lack of exercise and stuff. I've been exercising in the house, but I guess it's just not enough. And I need the gym to be open. And once the gym opens up, I'll go on the treadmill, the bike, and before you know it, things will get better. Oh, that's good, Trix. That's good. Yeah, I'm unbloated. It is. It's called the doctors. They're not going to have me go in. How they're going to see my legs. My sexy legs. I'm done. I just realized, wait a minute. Today's not Monday. But hey, at least it's not red no more. My feet were really red. Now it's not red. I'm really like skinny, but this is all bloat. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, Trix. Someone disliked before I even got started. So I think I had a feeling who's been disliking my videos. Let it be. I'm not saying the name. Yes, it is. My dad said he's cooking pancakes today. If I want some. He usually has his breakfast around 11 a.m. Oh, I know who it is. It's the same person that told another two people that I was talking nasty about them when I wasn't. And it was proven I wasn't, and now that person hates me. Even though when I see that person in this other chat, I say hi to that person every single time. Yeah, you're more than welcome. You better stop traveling now. Yeah, well, this person, yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. These other people got mad because of thought they said they didn't block me, but I know they did, but that's fine. They unblocked me. because I was leaving messages in the chat and I was refreshing and my comment wasn't there. I'm like, okay, they did it, but it's fine. So I contacted them privately, and that's it. And I thank them for coming to me. I wish they came to me privately, but that's fine. I try to use Google Translate on my Chinese coloring book. I have didn't work. So, I wish I'd known Chinese. Yeah, I'm totally giving up today. I'm done. Not giving up. Not giving up. I'm just doing it tomorrow. Every time I say give up, I think of little Juliana Carver's saying, "Don't be a giver up of whining's for babies." I mean, she had cancer 8 times, from 5 years old to 14. I'll be live again at 9, but I have to end this first. But I'm doing this today. I'll be live in about 20 minutes, or let me go to the bathroom and get my iced coffee. So I scanned this, and this says girls coloring book. That's what that means. So, which it says it right there in English. Yeah, so I will. Oh, by the way, doesn't this remind you of the Cosby Show where their houses is? I have another book with almost the same layout. Doesn't it look like it? I hope he gets out of jail to live the rest of his life in his house. You know, what he did was not right, but it was over 40 years ago. I was a toddler when it happened. And then why didn't... I know, but he's old. And he's blind. God took his sight away from what he did. Now he has to suffer like that for the rest of his life. God punished him for what he did. Yeah, he doesn't have no sight. Yeah, Trix, I heard there was rumors going around. Exactly, that's God's will is to take his sight away, and he took his sight away. And he's a very ill man as it is anyway. His son got killed, and someone says that his son saw him with the babysitter, and his father killed him, but that's not true. That is definitely not true. He would never kill his one and only son. Okay, guys, let me go get my iced coffee and everything. Find out when breakfast is. And if I'm not on in 20 minutes, you'll find out why. Well, I'm going to tell them I'm going to be doing a live. And I'll come live until breakfast is ready. So love you too, Night Owl, Vicky, and Trix. Everybody, I will be back. Love, don't judge.